the Benchwarmers podcast. It is NFL Mock Draft Edition. I am Casey Coggins, joined by Alvin Hebert.
What it up?
And Andrew Lira.
What's really good?
Draft is Thursday night in the NFL. So that is our main focus. Yes, we know NBA playoffs going on. We will probably end talking a little bit about NBA playoffs and a little Dame Russell Westbrook feud and Jared Dudley versus the Sixers and the Celtics rolling through the non-Oladipo Pacers, claiming the first series win. And then Spurs Nuggets game 5 tomorrow night.
Seems to be the only series.
Yeah, and it could have been a sweep. I mean, the Nuggets played their best game of the series in one of their best games of the season as far as shooting goes, but we'll get into that. But first, it is the Benchwarmers mock draft. So I've let y'all know that I'm going to generate a number between 1 and 20, and the closest to it gets the number 1 overall pick. Second closest gets 2, and the furthest away gets number 3, and then we'll alternate from there. And then we'll go through the whole first round and discuss why we think that those teams will do it. And then once we are done with that, then we can kind of discuss, do we think teams are going to trade up, trade down, what teams those would be, into what positions they would be trading to. So that's going to be how this plays out. So without further ado, I need y'all to pick a number between 1 and 20. Andrew, you go first.
18.
Alvin.
13.
And I'm going 7. Generate number 19.
Yeah.
Fuck both y'all.
So
I'm going first. I'm going as the Cardinals.
Yep, you will be 1, 4, 7, 10, blah, 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 blah.
Cool.
So, you, as the Arizona Cardinals, are now on the clock.
We have
Make it quick.
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Oh no, that's what?
That's
They make a noise.
I can't do any of the yeah, I can't. We
Some
can't,
shit like that.
We can't have the production value of using the ESPN draft sound because I don't have that kind of money to pay those rights.
Well, with the first pick in the 2019 Benchwarmers mock pod draft. The Arizona Cardinals select Nick Bosa out of Ohio State.
Whoa.
Good pick. The rumor mill is going on about them skipping Kyler Murray. And I think this is something that we're going to be possibly discussing later on in the podcast when we get into trades and stuff like that. But we're not predicting trades for draft. We're just saying, these teams are in their spots. Who would they take, and who do you think they're going to take, and who would you take if you were them? And Nick Bosa is the best player on the draft board for almost everybody.
Yep.
There is a lot of buzz for Quinnen Williams just because he's an interior lineman who can do uncanny things and has uncanny quickness. But Nick Bosa has some heritage. He has the older brother who's, a dominating edge rusher. And with the Cardinals needing a lot of things, just drafting the best player overall is probably the easiest and the easiest decision to make. So it seems like you didn't really have to think twice about that one.
No, I don't think much to begin with. So.
All right. Well, now the San Francisco 49ers and Alvin are on the clock.
Oh boy. So as we make our selection, For the Niners will select Quinnen Williams, defensive tackle.
So on
That's just easy.
yeah
Both
on my
board, go Williams.
on my top prospect sheet, those are 1 and 2, and they go 1 and 2 in our mock draft. The 49ers, they seem to have quite the array of talent, and especially with hopefully a full healthy year of Jimmy G, they can turn this year around. I mean, they shouldn't have been drafting in this spot if they had a full year of Garoppolo, even though you have some of those lurkers on Twitter talking about how good Nick Mullins was for them and how special of a year he had. But like the 49ers are going to ride and die with the talent of Garoppolo, and getting a defense to make sure that he doesn't have to be putting 40 up on the board every week is a big deal. So now it is my turn as the New York Jets, and
Jets.
they've stocked up on quite the offensive talent. They do need people for Sam Darnold to throw the ball to, but picking at this position with the type of talent that's in this draft, I think it's a little too early to go, best receiver in the draft when DK Metcalf.
Close.
That was more the saliva, like kind of flubbed the K.
Cut me joke.
I couldn't get the K out. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to try to get some of the relief back from letting Sheldon Richardson go and some of the interior linemen, and I think they're going to go Ed Oliver out of Houston.
D tackle.
So I mean, there's so much defensive talent in this draft that like it wouldn't really surprise me to see the first 10 picks be all defensive linemen and linebackers, just because of who's picking at the top and who's available. There are a few teams that might go quarterback, but I personally don't believe in any of the quarterbacks in this draft. So I would personally hold off on drafting a quarterback. But Andrew, now you are John Gruden in the team that sent all of their scouts home but one. The rumor broke out that we should be expecting a surprise pick, something that nobody's going to really expect out of this.
Pick a quarterback.
And when I heard that, I was like, they're going to take like Daniel Jones, like they're going to take the Duke quarterback. They're going to take somebody that's like should go at the 27th pick, their third one, but they're going to pick him number 4 because it's John Gruden. And
fuck it, that's why.
But it is Mike Mayock. He's the new GM, and he was the NFL's NFL.com's draft scout, NFL Network's draft scout for a long time. So he has the history and the experience of watching guys in college and their talents, and I think he should hopefully have some sort of ability to understand who they should draft here. But you never know. John Gruden just traded Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack, so we're flying by the seat of our pants with this pick.
He was hoping for some top 10 picks.
Yeah.
Didn't come through.
I know. Then the 2 teams that he traded to, which would have possibly been top 10 picks if he didn't make the trade.
Yep.
Got better because, hey, it's amazing what happens when you get good players.
We got new toys.
So, I think I heard the sound go off with that ESPN. Your pick is in.
With the 4th pick in the 2019 Benchwarmers
Pod draft.
Pod Mock Draft Pod. Draft.
Pod mock draft
That-
cast.
That
Yeah.
tongue twister, man.
The Raiders of Oakland draft Montez Sweat out of Mississippi State.
He's a edge rusher, right?
Yes.
Yep. And he has like the best name in the draft.
It's hot.
He's real sweaty.
It's good that he was playing in the South. His name fit in.
Gets real sweaty.
And it's hot.
Stupid. And it's hot.
So, I mean, that is passing up on the nation's leading sack edge rusher and Josh Allen. It's the best pure linebacker in the draft, passing up on them. But like we were just saying, it's Oakland, and
Stranger things would happen.
yeah, Darius Hayward Bay, we're looking at you. And so that brings us on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in another year of Jameis,
Florida.
and another year of mediocrity. So who is going to fall into that pit of?
Well, our offense might be mediocrity, but we're going to add a piece to defensive side that will bring a little excitement, a little bit of blaze, a little bit of fire. We, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, select Josh Allen.
Very solid pick with the Raiders doing what they do and passing him up.
And gifting the picks to somebody else.
It's amazing what this guy was able to do this past year, and coming back for his senior year, because he could have gone out at the end of his junior year, but he wanted to go back for the last year at Kentucky and kind of finish what he started, because Kentucky as a football program kind of started turning it around, and they had a pretty solid year, and they were one of the last undefeated teams left, and so they definitely, he was definitely one of the big catalysts of that resurgence in that program. So that brings us on to the New York Giants and my pick. And this, I mean, David Gettleman is not a good GM. And if you heard what he was saying in an interview the other day, maybe yesterday, where he said, we didn't draft a quarterback last year because we thought Eli had more in the tank to show and give, and we think he proved that he did. And everybody with two eyes and watched half a game of football from that team realized that he didn't have much to give, and he didn't prove that he had another year in him. But
Are you going to pick Haskins?
With that line of thinking, I personally would, for the Giants, I would probably pick Haskins, but with Gettleman seeming to not know what he's doing, and me also just saying that I don't believe in these quarterbacks, I think that their best bet is to try to not have the quarterback that they still believe in get sacked every single time they snap the ball to him, and run for his life, and maybe give him some time so that he can throw the ball. And I have them taking Jawan Taylor, the number 1 offensive lineman on the board from the University of Florida.
Why are you making the Giants look smart?
Well, no, the smart thing for them, I think, to do would be to draft Dwayne Haskins, because as much as I don't believe in these quarterbacks, I also think that they have to get somebody in there that gives the fans hope, and they, have somebody to go to when Gettleman gets fired later this year. I would be hard pressed to see him keeping his job after this year if Eli Manning puts up the type of performance that he had this past season, because they gave up his best weapon to throw to. Also, to be fair to the Giants, they didn't really give him much time to throw a deep ball, but they could have used Odell in many different ways. They just didn't. And so we're still no quarterbacks off the board, 6 picks in. Now on to the Jaguars.
Jaguar of Jacksonville.
Jags.
Andrew comes in with his own
7th
sound
pick.
effects.
With the 7th pick
Don't need a soundboard.
in the mock draft, Benchwarmers podcast mock draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Josh Jacobs, Alabama.
That caught me off guard. I was like,
right?
What?
Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, don't worry about it, man. It's a sleeper pick.
Okay.
I mean, I think he's an excellent running back, and you kind of saw what he was able to do in the big games later on in the year. And I mean, my gut is telling me that you are having them take Jacobs because you saw what they were able to do when Leonard Fournette was healthy, not this past season, but the season before that.
Yeah, man.
And then this year, without a healthy Fournette and without the ability to run the ball, and getting, I believe they got Big Dick Nick, right?
Yep.
And with him, they have a capable quarterback, because Blake Bortles wasn't that, and they're just kind of trying to keep the same formula that helped them almost make it to the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Trying to get back there.
So while I think that it's a good fit with Josh Jacobs, in my NFL, I'll be in the Mel Kiper role, grading these picks. I will definitely say that is a reach, and this is something that we can go back to when we're done with the first round, talking about trades, because that is not, it is on their team needs, but they have other positions of need too, and Josh Jacobs isn't Zeke and Todd Gurley and some of these other, and Saquon, some of the other running backs that have been drafted in the top 10.
He could be.
But he could be. And that's the thing, is that
he could be.
He was in a stacked backfield on a stacked team, and so he didn't get the same amount of carries that you saw Mark Ingram get and Derrick Henry get when they were there. So now, Alvin, don't fuck this one up.
I got you, man. I got you a good pick.
You're drafting for the Lions, and so
Yes.
in the first 2 years of our mock draft, the Lions fan doesn't get to pick for the Lions.
But I got you.
All right, where are we going?
Fuck your team up like
Where
they
are we
fucked up
going?
themselves already. Surprised he slid down a little bit this far. But we, the Detroit Lions, home of the best rapper Eminem, select Devin White, LSU.
Solid. I like
I
it.
told you, I got you.
I like it. That's been a position of need. Gerard Davis, who they drafted with the 10th pick a couple years ago, dealt with some injuries and really getting used to the NFL. He does play in that Thomas Davis type of like sideline to sideline speed, but he plays middle linebacker. And now you have Devin White being able to kind of pair him up,
Come off the edge for you.
and
You know?
I mean, he's the same place. Like you you can run nickel with the 2 linebackers and put in the five defensive backs and 4 down linemen, and so it's a start. They definitely need more, and I think their biggest acquisition of the offseason was a firing and getting rid of Jim Bob Cooter. So so that was big. But they also signed Trey Flowers. So now you're pairing like Snacks Harrison with Devin White and Jared Davis and Trey Flowers, and
that should be lethal right there.
They should have somewhat of a decent defense. But anything would be better than last season's, because they were not good. So now we're up into Buffalo, and they almost got Antonio Brown, but they
did they though?
No, they didn't. And for me, this is where it gets tricky, because the Bills had a solid defense. And if you look at the guys who are left, you have like in the top, 15, it's defense, tight end, couple quarterbacks, but they just drafted their quarterback of the future. And to me, it's too early to give up on a quarterback after their rookie season. Looking at you, Arizona Cardinals. So do you go with the Rashawn Gary and Devin Bush from Michigan? Like, do you go Jonah Williams, offensive lineman from Alabama? But I think their biggest need is getting somebody for Josh Allen to throw the ball to. And I think with the powerful arm, the arm strength, and the style of like play that the Buffalo will have, I think this is where DK Metcalf gets taken.
Damn it.
And I just think that he's with the way that the league is kind of going to making sure you have the offense to be able to move the ball and score points. He's the ultimate red zone threat, similar to what they tried to do with Kelvin Benjamin, but that was a bust. That burned down in flames. But we'll see. The history of hitting on draft picks has been touch and go for the Bills.
But that does seem like a Bills move right there to pick up an explosive wide receiver.
Yeah.
And hope he pans out.
Yep, definitely. I mean, you take your shot on getting your quarterback weapons until you land one, just like you take your shot at finding your quarterback of the future. Very few quarterbacks can say that they led their team to the playoffs without a good supporting cast of utility players and skill players. So they have to have somebody like this. And we all know the physical presence that DK is going to bring. So now going to Denver. Andrew, who are you selecting as the Denver Broncos?
What am I pick? This is pick 10. Pick 10. With the 10th pick, the Broncos of Denver select Cody Ford, Oklahoma.
You're just throwing at the dartboard.
Yeah. Some might say
Ford truck. Yes.
Throwing a wrench in the whole season.
Well, offensive line is definitely where they need to improve. And, they traded for why am I spacing on their new quarterback? Because they traded
Oh shit! That they did just get someone new.
Case Keenum.
Yep.
Who
You talking about Flacco?
Yes.
That one.
Yeah. So they're hoping that they can get another veteran quarterback to come in there and lead them to another Super Bowl. And one of their problems last year, and even with the years that they had Peyton, it was just their offensive line. And so that's something that they need to improve. And they're hoping that their defense can turn back the clock into what it used to be. They're getting the second year of what's his face, the edge rusher that they drafted last year.
Chubb?
Yeah, Bradley Chubb. They're getting, a second year with him next to Von Miller, and we'll see how they turn out. But offensive line, good call with the offensive linemen. And I mean, Cody Ford isn't a slouch or anything. He's on my list. He's ranked at number 4 at the position, number 16 overall. But that is, passing over Jonah Williams and Andre Dillard. But I think it's you kind of can take your pick depending on where on the line you expect to see them play. So on to the Bengals.
The Bengals.
And Alvin, you are up at number 11.
All right, so it's a new regime down there with the Bengals.
There.
Up there.
They're
down
in
there.
Ohio.
I was like, yeah,
They're around there somewhere.
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 Y'all ain't ever took no geography classes?
So cold up there. So since it's a new regime with the Bengals, we the Cincinnati Bengals of Ohio select hometown kid Dwayne Haskins.
The Cincinnati.
In the
Bengals of
force,
Ohio.
the
Is there another Cincinnati?
probably
Cincinnati,
know.
Texas.
Cincinnati, California,
Right.
coming at you. Drop my sheet.
And it's so cold over there, you won't believe it.
So yeah, the first quarterback is now off the board, and Kyler Murray is still sitting there. But there's if there's a chance that if quarterbacks slip and teams are drafting all these other positions, there's a lot of quarterbacks or teams that have quarterbacks that either have been there for a while and they're not looking to try to get their backup in the next quarterback, or have just got their quarterback of the future. And so it's tough sledding right now. I had to get a little sip in. I was getting a little dry in the throat.
Little parch.
I didn't know
Yeah.
they were sledding. It's April.
We
But
gotta
it's
practice for the
snowing
Winter
somewhere.
Olympics. so-
Yeah. I'm sure it's snowing up there in Cincinnati of Ohio.
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that makes perfect sense.
It does.
Maybe not perfect, but it makes some sense.
Exactly.
If it
So-
ain't making sense, it ain't making dollars.
So now,
Yeah, that's pretty much how that first one sounded. It's a little backwards. If it don't make dollars, don't make sense.
we are on to
Sometimes
Pick
you got flipping
12.
I was like, yeah,
with
that's
the Green Bay Packers. And they're going to draft Kyler Murray. And do the Brett Favre 3-year route.
Rodgers demands a trade.
This is another one of those kind of interesting places to pick because you want to get Aaron Rodgers weapons to throw to. You have a new coach and a new style of offense, but the Packers have also kind of not been good defensively for some time. But the it's hard to say that they will draft a position of need in tight end here because the stats of Aaron Rodgers show that he doesn't throw to tight ends. They tried to give him Jimmy Graham, and he didn't utilize Jimmy Graham at all. He was just, trying to make plays happen, and so it's where do they go? Or are they going to try to shore up the defense? Are they going to try to get another offensive lineman in there? Because they're not in a position to draft skill players. Because the next receiver on the list is Hollywood Brown from OU, but they don't need him at 12. So in this instance, I have them going with Devin Bush out of Michigan, linebacker.
Devin Bush.
Try to get some linebacking help for Clay Matthews and
Matthews not there no more.
Oh, that's right. Because they kind of cleaned house. I mean, a lot of teams did that. I don't know if y'all noticed how many teams kind of were just like, all right, cool. All like, you've played for us for 8 years. Yeah, we're not going to sign you. See ya. Go to Baltimore, Earl. Like, the Saints just let Mark Ingram go.
Yeah,
they brought in Latavius Murray to take his place. But yeah, there's the Lions did that with numerous players, and the players that are retiring because it's just too physical, and the concussions and all the injuries. So Green Bay taking a linebacker and getting the next great linebacker to play for the Packers. Andrew, you are now selecting at number 13 for the Miami Dolphins.
The Dolphins of Miami, of Florida. We will be taking. Boom, 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 boom.
I thought you weren't going to do it this time. I was waiting.
Got to throw little curveballs in there. We take.
Dun dun dun.
Kyler Murray.
Saw that coming.
OU.
Good pick.
Yeah, they thought he was going to 1.
You thought? Not in this draft, buddy.
Spoiler alert. This might be a team that we discuss in trades, because I have a theory.
We call it the Kyler theory.
It's one of my boneheaded schemes, my weird theories about sports, even though I'm holding to my gut feeling that the Celtics are going to win the title. Feeling good about that one. So
he's holding on to it so he doesn't seem wrong.
So yeah, for my Mel Kiper analysis on the Kyler Murray to Miami pick, there are questions about his height.
Why is that?
He was listed at 5'10" at the combine or whatever it was, and that's about my height. I'm not saying that I'm ready to go play quarterback in the NFL. I'm not the type of athlete Kyler Murray is in any regard, but going to Miami and playing 8 games in Miami weather, the other best options are teams that play indoors and teams that play in warm weather. Like, those are those teams that are there. Like, Kyler Murray fits in well because he doesn't have to play 8 games in Foxborough or Baltimore or the cold weather of the Ohio Cincinnati. And
Cincinnati of Ohio.
Get it right.
Come on.
Well, I said Ohio's Cincinnati. I didn't want to say the same joke. I wanted to spin the joke, but make the same point of the joke.
Why fix it if it ain't broke?
Because it will break.
That rhymes.
Eventually, it will break.
So Fitzmagic is going to be a stopgap. Like, while they have other needs, QB is their number one need, and it gives them a little bit of notoriety at the position. It creates buzz. It keeps fans interested in the team, and with like Dwayne Wade retiring and Derek Jeter imploding the Marlins and the U still figuring things out on football, they need somebody to take the city by the horns as far as sports popularity goes.
Not by the fence.
No, not by the fence. No, we're on dry land. But I think, if Kyler Murray does get there for them, that's a home run. Like, whether or not he pans out, we won't really know that until like 5 years from now. And by then, if that happens, then they're able to at least build a team around him. And if it doesn't work out, then they just go to the next quarterback. But at least for 4 or 5 years, they're relevant because of,
are they though?
Of their backup quarterback. Like, and that's just how NFL fans like work, and the NFL media works is, we don't care who your backup linebacker is. We don't care who your backup wide receiver is. We care about who is
their backup quarterback.
Who's their backup quarterback?
No, I'm saying that's what everyone says.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what happens if this so and so player gets hurt? Like, who's backing them up? There's a star power position for every team. In some teams, like the Jags, it's their defense, it's their defensive back, it's Jalen Ramsey. For other teams, it's their quarterback. For other teams, it's their wide receiver. But they have that person who creates headlines, and it doesn't even have to be anything that they do on the field. Hopefully, if it's off the field, it's not anything of negative value, but Kyler Murray gives them some positive momentum. And with that, we move on to pick number 14 in the Atlanta Falcons and Alvin Hebert.
Yes, we had submitted our pick a few minutes ago.
Sorry, I was talking too much.
We, the Atlanta Falcons, select Rashawn Gary
of Georgia. Not Rashawn Gary, Atlanta of Georgia.
Yes.
Rashawn Gary's from Michigan.
Atlanta.
I was like, damn.
Will I write that down? Would you like to explain why you picked Rashawn Gary?
Well, it's either most up their linemen, even though they signed a couple guards this offseason. But even though because they signed a couple guards this offseason, I think that lets them wiggle a little bit and try to get some pass rushers on that D line. And Rashawn Gary was.
They still have Shane Ray. Is that who? No, they don't have. No. It's not Shane Ray. It's Vic Beasley. That's who they have. Vic Beasley.
Get him on the opposite side, add a little bit more pressure.
Yeah, I mean, their offense has been, it's been lackluster. But 2 years ago it was the best offense in the league, and it's not like they don't have talent. They still have Jones, and they still have Calvin Ridley, and they still have Devontae Freeman. Yeah, I almost said Foreman from Deontay Foreman, who went to UT and now plays for Houston. I think they kept Coleman too, but I know that there was a possibility of moving him and him going to another team, but since the Super Bowl and that collapse, they've needed defensive line help. They needed depth there so that their pass rushers don't wear themselves out like they did. So So yeah, that's definitely on my team needs sheet. That is their number one need as and on top of offensive linemen. But as you said, they've added some guards and tried to shore that up. So now we're on to the Redskins of Washington of the District of Columbia. And,
DC.
They're in a difficult position with the issues at quarterback that they had last year and the unfortunate injury to Alex Smith. They, traded for Case Keenum. Still have Colt McCoy, but there's still noise about them maybe trying to get a quarterback in this draft. Which, I mean, if they're sold on one of these quarterbacks, like if you're sold on a quarterback, go and get them. But
Do you?
But I wouldn't if I'm Washington. And excuse me. While they sit at this position, I think Clelin Ferrell is the pick out of Clemson. One of their, 3 first-round defensive lineman talents that they have in this draft. And coming off of a second national championship in 3 years. Just
Dabo Sweeney.
Just a good football player. And they just did a feature on him because of just like the type of person he is off the field too. So I think getting him here would fill a need and is I personally think that he's better than the edge rusher that's on the list of top players because they have Brian Burns at 14 from Florida State, but I think Clelin Ferrell is the better player here. So Andrew, Carolina Panthers, number 16.
No, I'm not gonna do it. I was like, I'm not gonna pass. But we will go on and raise up. We'll take your shirt off, twist
it around your head, spin it like a helicopter.
Spin it like a helicopter.
A helicopter. Yes.
We.
Who are you?
Carolina. The Panthers of Carolina. Wow. Interruption. Jesus Christ. What kind of production is this? We
All the sounds.
take this man would be a great start to a news title because he's a Florida man.
Florida.
Jawan Taylor out of Florida.
Let me just go through my list of players to find him.
Jawan.
No,
Wait, you
I
already
took
picked him.
Yeah, I took Jawan Taylor.
I was like, man, because that sounds like Joanna Man.
Got too interested in making the Joanna Man joke that you
Let's
did.
just rewind on that one, shouldn't we?
So I guess Carolina's going to trade up too.
Curveball. I didn't see this one coming. We will be taking Andre Dillard out of Washington State. He comes with a 20% off coupon all the time. 2 Dillards.
2 Dillards.
So best believe we cashing in.
His family owns Dillards. Just in case y'all didn't know.
Sources say that might not be true. But who's to tell? I mean...
What kind of sources are you listening to? Sounds fucking fake to me.
One of them hashtag fake news people.
The same...
What is it, CNN?
the same guy who told me that San Diego means a whale's vagina.
Who said that?
Ron Burgundy.
Oh. I was like, wait, what?
The
I
great
was like,
city
I know
of
I didn't say that one.
Santiago.
No, it doesn't. It means an old wooden ship. I believe it's Saint Diego. So now we are to the New York Giants for a second time. And they got this pick because of the stupid Odell Beckham trade. But, they got another pick in this draft that has, so many great wide receivers.
So many.
So, Alvin?
Yes, there are so many great wide receivers on the board still. But
I was being sarcastic.
no, they're great. They're all great.
Yeah, every single one of these wide
all of them
receivers
are
are
good.
great.
So
They're
good.
about as great as Tom Brady, the GOATs.
We, the New York Football Giants, select, what's that kid's name, Locke from Missouri?
That
What's
kid,
his-
Lock, I don't know that kid.
What's his name?
Really? Drew Lock?
Drew Locke, yeah.
You're gonna pass another David Cutcliffe Duke quarterback,
What's the Dwayne Jones?
Daniel
Daniel
Jones. Then go
Yeah.
Drew Lock.
Now we're going to go Drew Locke. He's going to lock it up because it's time for Eli Manning to
Lock,
the
lock,
fuck
lock
out.
it out.
lock him out the door.
He said, lock him out the door. Like, that's the thing. It's just like, lock him. Should we lock him out? No.
He was so confident in
Lock him out
saying
the
it
door.
too. He was so confident in saying lock him
Never-
out the
I
door.
was like, damn. That's a reach, but I get it, but you going.
I mean, it would have been good if he just left the
Lock him
door
out.
out. Yeah,
Lock him out.
the door
Knock
ruined
him out
it.
the door.
He was. I had such high hopes for it, and I thought he was on the right track, and then the dough.
It's like
They just
Parks and
dropped off
Rec.
the
It's like Parks and Rec, John Ralphio with his raps. Cooler than Big Ben clocks.
we're gonna end up doing a podcast where I just name all the popular shows that I've never watched an episode of.
Oh God,
What?
you don't want to do that. You're gonna get so much hate.
I don't care if I get.
Don't
if-
read the
hey,
comments.
you gotta realize that
Block the comments.
Lock him out the door.
bad publicity is publicity.
Block him out the comments.
Lock
Like-
him out the door. That's what I was gonna do.
All that hate is just gonna give us some notoriety.
This fucking guy.
so
He's
now
never seen what?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
The Simpsons.
That's too many. That's
I'm
just too many.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I've seen a lot of The Simpsons episodes. You haven't watched Game of Thrones
Yeah, that's a real deal.
or Breaking Bad
I think everyone's already over that one. 'cause
or
it's-
The Wire.
all the memes is just like, oh, I could catch
Oh,
up with
wow.
Game of Thrones in 5 days, right? No, bitch.
Nah.
Winter is here.
All right, so number 18 with the Minnesota Vikings. They disappointed this last year with their guaranteed man in Kirk Cousins,
He did not like that.
and the Vikings fans did not like that either. They're pretty solid offensively though. As long as Dalvin Cook can stay on the field with Diggs and Thielen and Rudolph and that type of talent, what do? You draft the best offensive lineman on the board and Jonah Williams. Keep Kirk Cousins upright because they were hanging with the Rams for quite some time in their primetime game, but when it came down to it and the money needed to be made and the bread needed to rise, Aaron Donald put his footprint all over the game and just came up with back-to-back sacks of Kirk Cousins. So protect that man and get that offensive line all shored up.
Well, he doesn't play for the Raiders, so I think he's safe.
So Jonah Williams out of Alabama, the pick of the Minnesota Vikings. Now we are at number 19 and the Tennessee Titans of Tennessee.
Tennessee Tennessee Titans of Graceland.
Graceland.
Graceland. We take
I forgot to press the button. Sorry.
We don't need no buttons here.
Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson.
Dexter.
Some say that he hones his crafts in his laboratory.
Laboratory. With his sister?
Dee
Dee.
Yeah.
Mandark.
The number 2 of the 3 first round defensive line talents out of Clemson. The other one will probably be hearing his name relatively soon. But that defensive line was a nightmare. And what's funny is in the playoffs, they didn't have Dexter Lawrence because of the suspension. So they did it without him. So
suck on that.
Suck on it.
That's what he was trying to get to.
Number 20.
Thank you.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are now on the clock with Alvin.
Man, I hate really picking for teams I really do not like. But
The Pittsburgh Steelers are an amazing franchise.
they can suck on it.
Careful, because Big Ben might make you. What?
Big Ben is about that life.
Who said that?
You're not like an 18-year-old white girl.
Oh, cut.
Cut. God damn it, Alvin. Lock him out the door.
You're just fucking making up sayings.
Shit.
Oh man. Anyways, to get back to my pick, Pittsburgh Steelers select Byron Murphy, cornerback.
The University of Washington.
Washington, that's where he's from.
What are you?
You're the one that drafted him.
I just like his. I just like his name.
Will you teach me to football?
Where is that?
I just went with Key and Peele, East versus West Shrine Bowl.
Oh, that was great.
Splendiferous Finch. Jackhammer noise.
Donkey teeth. Damn.
Fudge. With the 21st.
Kringleberry.
They even have one with the dolphin noise.
Aaron Rodgers, the University of California.
Kent Smith, BYU.
With the 21st overall pick in the 2019 Benchwarmers Pod Mockcast Draft,
Yeah.
the Seattle Seahawks select Andre Dillard, offensive lineman, Washington State.
He's already been picked.
I forgot to highlight him.
No.
I forgot to highlight him.
He's off the board.
Yeah, that was that is my bad, because I didn't have him highlighted and I was going in between the two names and I saw the non-highlighted, and so that means the other name is the pick, and that's Brian Burns, Florida State edge rusher.
I thought you ready to pick Burns too.
No?
No?
I mean, I know I said him because I had talked about, I think Clellan Ferrell is better than Brian Burns, and that's why I picked Clellan Ferrell earlier.
Yeah, that's right. Gotcha.
I'm too focused on the, making fun of you, Alvin, that I just didn't highlight the pick. We were talking about Dillards. I thought about shopping, and
Gotta get your multitasking on, bro.
doesn't always work well with me. Alrighty. Well, now we are on to pick number 22 and the Baltimore Ravens and Andrew Lira. That was a weird one. It's like you forgot how it went halfway through.
I never knew how it went. We, the Ravens of Baltimore, Maryland, home of The Wire,
Whoa.
as broadcast by Home Box Office Television.
Home of Francis Scott Key, creator of the national anthem that has brought the NFL such great glory in the past few years.
Select Jerry Tillery, Notre Dame.
Jerry Tillery.
Yes. Don't say it was such
Sorry, I was taking a sip of my.
confusion.
I was taking a sip of my whiskey. I was thinking about this pick, and it's these late first round picks. You see guys in the top kind of slide, guys in the lower tier of the top 32 rise, some guys out of the top 32 rise into the first round, and Notre Dame has had quite a few good years in the last 5, and I'm not crazy in thinking that they made it to. Oh no, they didn't make it to the Final Four, did they? It was Bama, Clemson, OU. Yeah, it was Notre Dame.
Yeah, they were.
Because they got their ass smashed on.
Ugly. Very ugly like.
Yeah. So, but I mean, they were there. Like they had a great year.
Were they though?
In spirit, in spirit, they were there. And yeah, I mean, their defense was pretty stout up until that final game. So the Ravens just kind of continue to keep that defense alive. So now we are into a Texas team, and the Houston Texans, the Texans of Texas of Houston.
Yes,
and
also in Texas.
They need a lot of offensive side help. So we, the Houston Texans
of the Texas Texans,
select TJ Hawkinson. He's gonna be like a hawk.
He's like a Hawkson. The son of a hawk.
Hawkinson.
He's
a hawk and a son.
I'm hoping he's a son.
I'm assuming that the J in TJ stands for junior, or
perhaps.
But this is a great pick of value. I applaud you on the getting this type of talent late in the first round.
So deep in the first round.
And I mean, they have, one of the best wide receivers, some might argue the best receiver in the league. Deshaun Watson, with a full year of being healthy, hopefully. The first few games last season, you could tell he wasn't quite right from his ACL tear. And if they can get Will Fuller to stay healthy, and the rest of that offensive line, and like they have the defense to stay healthy, like I think the number one reason why we haven't seen the Houston Texans in the Super Bowl in the last 5 years is, one, before Deshaun Watson, it was they needed a quarterback, and their quarterbacks couldn't stay healthy. And in the last 2 years, it's just been health. J.J. Watt gets hurt, and then Jadeveon Clowney gets hurt, and then Deshaun Watson gets hurt, and then Will Fuller gets hurt, and then it's just injury after injury after injury, and it derails their season. But adding a tight end, I don't think it was this last year, but it was the year that Deshaun Watson got hurt. I think that they had 3 tight ends get hurt, to where they had to pick up a guy, and they were starting a guy they had signed the week of to be their tight end. And Hawkinson is, number 10 on the list that I have for top prospects. And there was some rumor mill going that if he slid like that was who the Patriots were eyeing at getting to try to replace Gronk. So like I said, I applaud the pick of Hawkinson.
Thank you.
With the second pick of the Oakland Raiders in the first round, number 24 overall, the Oakland Raiders select, drumroll please, Christian Wilkins, second defensive lineman that they took in our mock draft, but they need whatever defensive help they can get. Their defense was a dumpster fire rolling down a hill. You know those pictures of San Francisco where they have like the neighborhood that's like down that steep hill? Not mean. You know those pictures of San Francisco?
Yeah.
Like when they would, in Full House, they would show the city of San Francisco, and they have the super steep hills where neighborhoods are. That's where their dumpster fire was rolling down on its way straight out to the bay. But it didn't quite get there to stop the fire. Still kind of lit. But they're doing their best to put it out. John Gruden actually was seen pushing the dumpster to try to get it to water.
I believe it.
He's the one that lit it on fire.
Viking style.
Hey, it is it does seem to be kind of a known thing that you might light your own house on fire, but if you're the one that put it out, you get credit, and then people forget who lit it on fire.
You're my hero, baby.
Like there are people who still like to give Tiger Woods shit and Kobe Bryant shit, Ben Roethlisberger shit. If the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year, or not Kansas City Chiefs, if the Cleveland Browns win the Super Bowl this year, guess who's not going to be mentioned?
Johnny Manziel.
And Kareem Kareem Hunt. Like Kareem Hunt. Like the negative press that he just had, and the reason why he got cut from the Chiefs and was supposed to be out of the NFL. He got signed with the Browns. They won the Super Bowl, and he wins the game-winning touchdown. The only time that what he did was mentioned is in the type of shit that we just did, kind of poking fun at Ben Roethlisberger and I did with Kobe Bryant and Tiger Woods. Like it's just kind of like even Michael Vick had a resurgence. Like there was a sector that still was like, did we forget what he was doing? But we saw that he came back with the Eagles and started winning games and really, started doing a lot of good work for like animal rescue shelters and that stuff. And we're like, yeah, you fucked up. But America loves second chances.
You got back on your feet and you did your thing.
It's
America loves a comeback story.
It's funny because America is also the reason why there has to be a comeback story, because we're the people who
we invented comeback stories.
We did. We'd boo you out the building, and then
we lock you out the door.
and then you win a Super Bowl or an NBA championship or a World Series or a Masters, and we're like, Hercules.
We're what have you done for me lately?
Yeah,
Society.
Exactly.
That was all in the past, bros.
We're like, yeah, we were the ones who pushed you out, but come back in and
come back.
And provide our happiness, please.
We kicked you out the house, but you can always come back in.
Of course. Lock you out.
There are a lot of white people in this country who say Tiger Woods is their only black friend.
That's terrible.
But is it not true?
I've never heard them. I don't hang out with those kind of people.
I was just making a joke that he plays a sport that is notoriously white.
Just in case you didn't know what golf was.
Just in case you didn't know who Tiger was.
Hey, he's half Asian. His real name's Eldrick.
Just in case you didn't
And
know.
Eldrick.
So, who's next?
That would be you with the 25th pick in the Philadelphia
The
Eagles.
25th pick. Boom, 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 boom.
No, don't ruin this just because you're a Cowboys fan, all right?
Too late.
Too late.
Don't get greedy as a Cowboys fan.
Too late.
All right.
The Eagles of Philadelphia, after burning our town to the ground, we select
Those bastards.
Brian Burns.
Lil Jordan Humphrey, Texas.
Ooh.
He's going to infiltrate.
Got a dig for that one, huh? He's just going straight to the back page.
He's like the last one.
Not here. Not here.
People thought he was going to be drafted tomorrow.
I mean, you know, we're Texas people. UT kind of plays all the time on TV around here.
They have their own network.
And like I think he is going to be an NFL wide receiver. Like I don't have any doubts that he's going to be playing in the NFL. Him being
Lil.
a first round pick is a little bit of a stretch, but you know the Eagles have liked getting big, giant, tall, physical receivers.
Not so Lil.
Not so little. The fact that I have to write down Lil Jordan as a name is hurts a little bit.
Hurts a little bit.
Hurts a little bit.
Just a little bit.
There's so many little jokes that we can say.
If only we didn't have
sure.
a little bit of time.
All right. So now with the 26th pick, it's Indianapolis, the Colts, and Alvin
So we the Indianapolis Colts
of Indiana.
of Indianapolis. Home of Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers.
Home of Indiana.
Home of Indiana also.
Made popular by the famous TV show NBC, Parks and Rec.
Gene
Pawnee.
Hackman,
If
Hoosiers.
Pawnee,
you've seen
Indiana.
that- if you've seen that show.
A basketball coach throwing
Yeah.
a chair across the floor.
Detlef Shrimp.
that left.
He
Rick
played
Schmitz.
He played for the Sonics.
He also didn't he play for the Pacers?
No,
No, he's just from Indiana.
but I mean Rick Schmitz. He played for the Pacers.
Oh,
Larry Bird is the hick from French Lick, aka Basketball Jesus.
Basketball.
basketball Jesus.
The Great White Hope. But we the Colts, we're not selecting any one of them.
We're not even talking about the same sport.
We will be selecting AJ Brown, wide receiver.
Ole Miss. You didn't say
Oh.
the school part.
Ole Miss.
That's the most important part.
I'm sorry.
How else is anybody going to know who you drafted?
Seriously.
Google it. Look it up.
You play for the front of the jersey, not the back.
So one thing that I
Unless you're
noticed
Antonio Brown.
is that Ole Miss, according to us, has 2 first-round wide receivers. I don't think they were any good. Kind of reminds me of the LSU team that had Odell and Jarvis Landry. And I mean, really, you can say any LSU team because you just start listing the guys in the NFL that played with LSU. It's kind of like talking about UT basketball. UT basketball and the type of players they could have had on the floor together if they'd had to stay in school would have been nuts. Nuts.
Have to lock them out the door.
Oh, look at me. I get a pick for the Raiders again.
Well, now that you got that out of the way,
Make them good.
With the 27th overall pick and the 3rd of the first round for the Oakland Raiders, I am not taking a defensive lineman because we have them already taking 2 defensive linemen. I am going to go with Greedy Williams, cornerback, LSU.
You
Kinda
greedy
selfish.
bastard.
Hey, I mean, what fits Gruden more than Greedy?
I don't think he's greedy. I think he's just kind of stupid.
Have you
Little
not
bit of
seen his
gun.
contracts that he signed? His Monday Night Football contract and the Raiders contract?
Is that his fault?
Doesn't make him less greedy.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets thrown there, you don't leave money on the table.
The fact that he'd been getting offers to come out of the booth, but it took a 10-year, $100 million contract to do that, and not some like 4-year, $30 million contract. I would say it's a little bit greedy. I mean, yeah, I get your point that he's being offered something, you might as well take it. And like,
Yeah.
who's going to turn down $100 million? But
Guessing you.
but he also turned down less money for probably better organizations. Like he one of the reasons why he came out of the booth is because he believed that David Carr's little brother Derek was a franchise quarterback. And all year you pretty much saw him
Sadly mistaken.
like he just was like, and he's not the quarterback I thought he was. But he also didn't help him with the roster moves he made. So
That's why I don't think he's greedy. I think he's very generous.
I mean, he's generous to the Bears and the Cowboys. Maybe that's why you don't have the you don't think he's greedy, because he gave you a playoff berth.
Yeah,
We appreciate you.
very much so. Thank you.
I'm sure that if John Gruden walked into a room near you, you would be sprinting at him with your arms wide open,
Amari says hi.
like Creed.
In a
And
room
Scott
near
Stapp.
you, John Gruden.
John Gruden's going to be hanging out with his buddy, and all of a sudden he's going to hear, "With arms wide open, look," and there's Andrew
Under the sunlight.
slowly walking. Why is he walking so slow?
Welcome to this place.
Strumming a guitar.
So now it is on to you, Andrew, and the formerly San Diego of California Chargers, now the Los Angeles of California Chargers.
No longer San Diego.
They should go back to San Diego.
Yes, they should.
Mistake.
Yeah, especially after that attendance record. Ooh, that record.
Just wait until their stadium in Inglewood gets finished. That area is going to be buying tickets left and right.
Woo, man.
Get that yawn out. I know it's
Great.
the first round. It's a long process.
It was tiring. With the 28th pick, doom, 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 doom. The Chargers of San Diego, Los Angeles of California, USA.
USA.
Select Devin Bush, Michigan. Did he already get taken?
No, he got took.
I lie. I said Nasir Adderley.
That's it. Adderley. Adderley.
Out of Delaware. That's
Delaware.
Oh.
you know
Very
the you
well
know
aware he's from Delaware.
you know the last great football player to be selected from Delaware. Joe Flacco.
Ooh.
Did you just call Joe Flacco great?
The last greatest player.
He was
From
great at Delaware.
From Delaware.
There was a reason he got taken where he got tooken.
Don't put it to higher standards. But he was great because he's from Delaware.
He's great because he's like 6'9". Did y'all see the
Nope.
that there's an article that was talking about how quarterbacks taller than 6'5" are historically
Bad.
terrible.
Yup.
Like not bad, like worse than bad, just terrible.
Terrible.
But my man Kyler Murray is going to be terrible because he's only 5'10".
Well, yeah, he needs to be able to look over the lineman. How is he going to see where he's throwing the ball? He can't look.
How do you do it, Drew Brees?
He jumps, dude. I see.
Tippy toe.
There's a few things that they do.
I take ballet classes.
Wider splits between the linemen. He understands, if his linemen slide right, he needs to slide right to keep the lanes. I mean, but we're trying to compare shorter quarterbacks to one of a top 10 quarterback of all time.
Yep, right behind Brady. In
Right
front of Peyton by a couple spots.
Yeah, I concur.
Boo. Hey, if we're going based off of rings,
There's
one
a
guy
cow
only has
here.
one and the other guy has two. Hey, it's
that's a
facts.
high.
If we're gonna just base greatness off of how many rings you win,
I mean, he's also losing all of his records.
well,
Two-
that's because
two
that
Drew
he
Brees.
retired 3 years earlier than now it's going on the 4th year.
Were they drafted the same year?
No,
That's why. Peyton's just
he was just he was
not
he was born 3 years too early.
like sorry.
But that's
he's also injury prone with all the
right,
neck
the
fusions and
the 1 year that he missed from injury.
steroids.
HGH, yes.
Oh yeah, there you go. PEDs. I'm sorry, I just use the broad terms. Yes.
Well, I mean, Brady has the doctor who's not really a doctor at his side.
so does everybody in Florida.
That's why I said doctor who's not really a doctor. Which I need to watch that movie. Have y'all heard about Split Ball or Screwball? Screwball, not Split Ball.
That's the one where they're kids, right?
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
all
I heard
kids.
about it.
And they're going over the whole Tony Bosch, A-Rod, biogenesis.
Yes.
Well, before we just way tangent out, I knew that Tom Brady was going to get mentioned at some point tonight.
We're getting close to it.
I mean, we're getting really close to it. And now we are on to the Kansas City Chiefs at pick 29. Alvin?
So with the whole legal issue with Tyreek Hill, we, the Kansas City Chiefs,
Don't take a running back. Boo.
Don't take a running back.
Can I finish? Can I finish? Can I submit my ticket?
Yeah, finish, and then I'm going to tell you exactly why you're wrong.
Well, I was going to say Marquise Brown, but
You're wrong.
you're still wrong.
I don't know. Marquise Brown is all right. I thought you were going to take a running back because that would have been worse. But-
I thought about getting a cornerback,
But Kansas City's biggest problem last year was
Defense.
their defense, and like Justin Houston wasn't the same guy he was. D Ford had a good year, but when it came down to winning time, yeah, they put up plenty of points to win against the Patriots, but you know what they couldn't do? They couldn't get to Tom Brady when it mattered, and the one time that they did and it caused an interception, D Ford was offsides by about 6 inches. And so if I was the Chiefs, I would be hard pressed to not take another lineman, some kind of linebacker or edge rusher or defensive end, because they also, I think they just franchise tagged D Ford. They didn't sign him to an extension. So there's a possibility that he's going to be gone soon. So they're going to need some sort.
Well, I thought they said they would work out a trade for him.
Yeah, I know that's also discussed.
Right.
But I mean, how many times do you see an edge rusher traded for an edge rusher? So it's like that's. I'm looking at my draft board, and I see a guy like Brian Burns still sitting there at pick 29 in the first round.
I could have sworn that we heard Brian Burns' name already.
No, that's again. Did I? Oh, I didn't highlight him again. I did the same thing with Andre Dillard, who was right below him. I picked Brian Burns and highlighted Andre Dillard because I hadn't highlighted Andre Dillard. But even then, like, you still have like Jeffrey Simmons from Mississippi State, who would be more of an interior defensive lineman, and like you said, taking like a cornerback or somebody like that, because the Chiefs' issue wasn't wide receiver.
Well, I think it's going to be because with the whole Hill situation.
But I mean, I think with Andy Reid at the helm, you need more talent. You need more talent on defense, because talent can sometimes outweigh scheme and execution, where you can just say, hey, we're going to play some base kind of defense and our cornerback's going to be able to stay with this right wide receiver, or our defensive lineman's going to be able to get to the quarterback. While with an Andy Reid system and his track record, he doesn't need as much talent offensively, because he's going to be able to scheme guys open. He's going to be able to take his third string running back and turn him into the star of the last couple weeks of the regular season and into the playoffs. Stuff like that. I'm just glad you didn't go running back. Hollywood Brown is if he's healthy, because he has injury issues. If he stays healthy, like, yeah, that's his Tyreek Hill 2.0 right there. So now, number 30 in the first round with the Green Bay Packers. Their second pick of the first round. Gonna have to go into my second sheet for this one, because I don't think that they need anybody from the first sheet, because I almost forgot to highlight another guy because I'm an idiot. Gotta find the name that I was looking for.
Gotta dig deep on this one.
Not dig deep. I had a name, and then I let the name go. It'll be we're going to take Taylor Rapp from Washington, safety.
It's a wrap.
For me, it's a wrap because I don't have another pick. That is my last pick. The next two are on y'all, and I'm just glad that the Patriots are not being picked by Andrew.
Yeah, I know. They don't even need a pick. They don't need a quarterback. That's for sure. I'm glad you acknowledged it too. Because why would you need a quarterback when you have the GOAT?
Yeah.
I've never seen a GOAT win a Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, well you've seen one win 6.
Yes.
Yeah, in basketball.
Basketball isn't for Super Bowls.
No, that's right. We did say Super Bowls. I was thinking. I was already past the term Super Bowl and into rings. I was past that. Sinuses and congestion has gotten me all screwed up. I'm on like 4 different kinds of allergy medication right now, and sinus medication, and Flonase, and whiskey.
Yeah, whiskey. Drinking whiskey.
So the how should I phrase this? The people who didn't deserve to be in the Super Bowl, picking 31, the Los Angeles Rams. Andrew, it is your pick.
With the 31st pick, the St. Louis Rams of Los Angeles select
Rams of Los Angeles.
Trayvon Mullen, Clemson.
You just love the Clemson boys.
I mean, they did just blow out the prohibitive favorite to win it all.
Yeah, Alvin. You ass.
I'm sorry.
Block him out the
with a true freshman at the helm.
You mother.
You help finding him?
I got him.
He's
on the list?
I was having. You said Trayvon Mullen, right?
Sure.
Sure. Yeah, that's his name.
That's what I said.
Yes.
So I remember Harry. I was just trying to fight with my papers. Ooh. Well, now we're on to the last pick. Now we're on to the New England fucking Patriots.
The Super Bowl champion.
Super Bowl champion.
Super Bowl champs.
With like, I honestly think that this is the worst team that they've had win a Super Bowl. Like, just top to bottom.
They still just.
But when you got the GOAT on your side, anything is possible.
Right. That coach.
Number 12.
He doesn't have a number. Coaches don't have numbers.
TB12.
TB12.
Motherfucker, you don't eat strawberries. Can't trust a dude who won't eat strawberries.
Well, I mean, he wants to take care of his body. He doesn't need a lot of sugar.
He wants to keep the blood flowing, the flexibility.
He wants to keep going for another TB12 years.
Another TB12 years.
He's gonna be looking worse than Gronk when Gronk retired.
Well, since you mentioned Gronk, and since he
Transition.
and since he did retire, this is a perfect spot for the Patriots to select another weapon that could be of use for Mr. TB12. And I believe that's Nick Fant of Iowa.
Mr.
Noah
TB12.
Noah Fant?
Noah Fant.
Fant, yes. Of Iowa.
The other Iowa tight end. It's amazing to me how like some of these college teams have such great talent at certain positions or like even overall, and you're like, well, what year did they have? Well, they went like 8-4. They were third in the Big 12. Like, really? With these guys? That's why people are they were like, is Cliff Kingsbury actually a good hire for the Cardinals? Because the dude had like so many. I think he had Baker Mayfield, he had Kyler Murray, and he had spacing on the other quarterback. He had 3 quarterbacks who on the same roster, and 2 of them transferred to different schools and won a Heisman. I think that was how it was with him.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I can't remember the other quarterback, but there were like 3 quarterbacks, and they were on the same like spring practice squad, and 2 of them transferred because they weren't going to be starting. But that wraps up the Benchwarmers mock draft for 2019.
Pod mock draft.
Pod mock draft.
Pod mock draft cast.
From San Antonio
Benchwarmers.
of Texas.
In the US of A. In the Republic of Texas.
On the Western Hemisphere.
The great city of San Antonio.
Central time zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you
Both
look
you. Yeah.
when you look at time zones, it doesn't say Central though. It says like Chicago because that's how it's based off of the big cities.
We're fine with selecting Chicago.
But I will say that wraps up this episode too, because we took our time on really thinking through, because a couple of us took the same people.
Right. You can do it, baby. Do it tonight.
and so we'll see how our mock draft leads up to the draft. And we didn't talk about some of the possible trades. We didn't talk about the NBA playoffs, but sometimes you just run out of time, and
that's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, sometimes the ball bounces the wrong way.
Sometimes you just gotta lock them out the door.
Lock them out the door.
And make sure
Ship
you
them
take
up
them
and
keys.
ship them out.
Make sure you take them keys from them too.
Shake and
Lock
bake.
them out the door.
All right. Well, I'm Casey Coggins, and as always, I'm joined by Alvin Hebert
And we about to lock him out the door.
and Andrew Lara.
Click clack.
Different kind.